Whoa. Hey, friend. You know what that sound means? It's time for another episode of Massive Talk with Tiny Little Victories. Yeah, that actually, how would you know? Because this is the first time we've used that sound, but that's the sound that lets you know that it's time for Massive Talk. And this next episode is co hosted with your favorite co host, Naos Wilbrink, and myself. And this episode is all about sleep. Yeah, sleep. And I know you guys maybe are like, we know everything. You're supposed to get 7 hours of sleep, blah, blah, blah. But actually, we're actually talking about a different sleeping data. And we're talking about sleeping naked data. And Naus found this, and I think it's quite interesting. But before we jump into the episode, we also kind of got sidetracked a little bit, and we were talking about, do bees sleep? Because actually, yeah, bees, they do sleep. And bees have 3 sleep stages, just like humans. And the deepest stage is when their antennas are completely immobile. Now, before you think, how the heck do we know that? We're not out in a hive. And I'm going to tell you that, yeah, you're going to be amazed at what I'm going to tell you. And that is, even though bees are resting and they're sleeping, they still communicate, which allows them to sort of consolidate and sort of, pack down all the things they've learned during the day. Oh, solidify. That's probably a better word. The information that they've acquired from other bees. So they fall into these deep sleep states, recalling relationships between food and certain odors. And then they communicate those around to other bees around them. Now, I don't know how many of you are deep into AI and neural networks, but I just think this is such a beautiful thing. AIs learn and then they upload to the neural network. And then the neural network's like, this is really interesting information. And then it will like parse it all. And then it will send it around to other AIs that are connected to it. But bees do this naturally. I mean, mind blown. Now, the next animal that sleeps, just like humans, are birds. Birds are the only animals outside of mammals whose sleep also goes into a deep sleep phase. They sleep in a slow wave sleep, a dream phase, REM sleep, and REM sleep. What? Yeah, birds. Imagine it. So when you think about this whole birds and the bees season that we're in, just think about all these animals out there flying around, pollinating the planet, and then having really good sleep. Actually, bees have 5 to 8 hours of sleep a night, which is statistically more sleep than humans get. So, on that note, I would like to say, here comes Massive Talk Sleep.
We're starting. Good.
We're starting. We're so mellow today on Massive Talk. Hey, everybody, welcome to the 3rd episode of Massive Talk with me, your host, Jennifer Kite-Powell.
Me, Naos Wilbrink, and happy to be here.
Yay! We were just giggling beforehand because we were talking about how we were going to start, and I didn't tell Nose that I just hit the button, and then that's what you heard in the beginning was him just like, wait, what, we're starting? So
We're
yeah, I
starting?
think it's a perfectly
Yes.
way to start. Just start.
Well, I know this that the first thing you need to do to change anything is just to show up and to start. So you hitting that
So
button is us getting on the way.
true.
Yes.
So true. And I know everybody's missed us because Massive Talk, I think, is massively good for you all. Yes, look at me just telling you all what I think is good for you, because I've been having a lot of random conversations with people now. It's just like, hey, I'm walking down the street. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, how are you doing? Gosh, it's so nice today. Do you want to like sit out back and have a glass of wine? Sure. And then they come over at 7 o'clock, and the next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. and nobody's looked at their
Oh,
phone. And it's like
yeah.
huge conversation from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I'm like, what did we just talk about? Everything.
And that will be too long for the podcast to put all that on.
Yeah.
Before we actually head into more things, I did
Yeah.
see information on your bees. And I think
Yes.
yes, can you, because it's always good to talk
Yeah.
about bees. And I would
Yes.
like to know the business of your bees.
The business of my bees. I'm always
Yeah.
happy to talk about bees. I think you're talking about the video I put up a while ago, recently, about the buzzing of the hive. They were
Yes.
so happy. Winter was over. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very cold here for a very short period of time, and I was worried that my girls would make it. I don't care so much about the boys in there because there's not that many. And it's
Mm.
basically, all females. The sun had come out. I think it was like maybe 50 or something. And towards the end of the day, with the way the time has changed, bees generally, towards the end of the day, somewhere between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., they either come back from foraging, looking for pollen, getting some grub,
Hmm.
right, before they head out to happy hour, sit on the front porch. They literally reorient themselves to the hive because it's been so cold. So they've been inside the hive in pure darkness, staying warm, eating the honey that's inside to survive. They come out, the guard bees will come out, or the
Hmm.
forager bees would come out. If there's new bees inside, not during the winter, there won't be new bees. They're
No.
probably, we're in that season of the birds and the bees. Meow, right? It's that time of
Mm.
year, and they're going to be going out and foraging. But because they've been inside all winter, and because those bees were made, they were birthed in the fall,
Hmm.
they don't really have a lot of relationship to the world. So they come out of the hive. It's so beautiful. That's what you saw on the video. And they
Yeah.
come straight out up in like a 90-degree, straight up into the air. And they begin to do what they call like the waggle dance, and they fly in this like almost crazy 8 pattern. And what they're doing is they're orienting themselves, the sight, the smell, the sun, the way the light is,
It's
the
like they're calibrating their systems to know
they're
where they are.
calibrating. That's exactly what they're
Yes.
doing.
Hmm.
They're calibrating themselves to the hive. And then all of a sudden, if you can follow them, you can follow one, you see them, and it's just magical. They're coming out, there's so many of them up there. Some of them are play fighting, right? And then they nosedive straight back to the hive, and they go in an entrance that's probably 3 inches
Hmm.
in length back into the hive. And then they will have calibrated themselves to this particular hive, not my neighbor's hive or my neighbor's hive, but this hive. And today I actually opened the hive up to see what was going on. It's been quite sunny, but I, for some reason, just felt like I wanted to. You have to be in the right frame of mind to open up a beehive, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, you have to get your smoker ready. You have to get your gear on. And they were very quiet today. I didn't want to interrupt them when they come out and do that happy dance, right?
So
So I did a little, yeah,
yeah. So I
go
think this
ahead.
is a great moment to introduce here
Sleep?
the flight of the bumblebee. No,
Yeah. Oh,
like
I wish I had that music.
have you heard that? And my
Yeah.
question is because I have heard that piece. I'm a bassoon player as well, and the
Oh,
original
I didn't
from
know that.
Korsakov, yes, he plays it on the bassoon, and I know he doesn't play it on the bassoon, but it's played on the bassoon, and it is an amazing, fast piece. It's much
Yes, it's like
the
chaotic. It's
information in it.
chaotic.
It's
Yeah.
chaotic. It comes back down to, but I have never seen bees dance, so I have played the music or attempted to play the music, but
Hmm.
I have never seen the bees dance. So my question is: you have heard the music, you have seen the
Yes.
bees dance. Is
Yes.
it is it actually a representation of it?
Yes. 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 And
Hmm.
actually, I had not actually put that together until you said that, because I'm now hearing the music,
Yeah.
arranged in my by
Yeah.
Rachmaninoff, right?
Hmm.
And now I'm like, yeah, that's them, because there's so much activity. Maybe you should take some music and play it over my video so you can see how it matches. Because it's true. There's oftentimes I sit out there on a little bench and just watch them for, a good 30 minutes coming in. They start slowly.
Hmm.
The guard bees come out first. They're sitting on, they call it the front porch, the place where the landing pad basically.
Right.
And they start
Where they
slowly,
take
and then
off.
you see
Yeah.
them taking off, right? And then more come out and more come out. And then it's like this flurry and chaos, and like the changing patterns of the bumblebee as it flies. But they, they're done for a reason. Like they're literally, they may look random, but they're not random,
Hmm.
right? The changing
Yes.
patterns are not random at all.
No, because they are still
I,
calibrating, but they're doing
yeah,
it. So they're
and
doing it systematically, and they're going about their business, trying to figure
yes,
out where they are in relation to the world, and so they can find the hive even if in poor
yes,
visibility, or would they not go out?
absolutely. And well, yeah, no, absolutely. And they tend not. Okay, so when I first started keeping bees, I was really scared that I was like, oh no, my sprinklers came on, and my bee mentor, who's this very wonderful elderly, I shouldn't say elderly, elder. He's my elder
Is it elder?
gentleman. And
Yes.
he said, okay, Jennifer, you have to start thinking like a bee. Like if the bees are out foraging and a storm comes along, what do you think they do? And I said, hide under a leaf. And he goes, exactly. So, if your sprinklers come on, they're going to like fly away till the sprinklers go off, or they're going to like hide under a leaf, or they're going to go
Yeah.
really fast and make it back into the hive. So I think for me, watching them was a way to sort of understand their behavior. And then it lets me understand how they're feeling and what they're doing at different times of the day. And I think that song it is about a frenzy in a way, but watching bees, nothing feels uncontrolled, right? It feels like, yes, it
Right.
seems chaotic, but it's not. So for instance, today I opened the hive up. I was in my
Mm-hmm.
gear because I wasn't sure, are they going to be a little bit bitchy because, they're running out of food. There's not a lot of pollen
Mm.
yet. So I sat out there this morning and I saw some of the girls coming back in. They go out in the morning. The older ones go out in the morning and then they come back. And
Yeah.
I was so thrilled because one out of every 10 bee that was flying back this morning at 11, their little legs were yellow, which
Ah,
means
good.
they found pollen somewhere. Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know this, but people say, oh, the flowers aren't up yet. I'm like, I hate to tell everybody this, but trees have pollen. Like elm
Yes.
trees have pollen. So people say, I can't keep bees. Nope. But you can plant trees and plants that pollinators can go
Mm-hmm.
have a nice meal with.
Yes.
And
We need.
they were coming
There's
back. So
so
I
many
knew that
sources.
so many sources. So I knew
Yeah.
elm is running right now and where I am. So they must have been coming there. I they were, so I know they're going out and foraging. I know they're coming back. I know they're doing that chaotic dance here shortly, probably right now in my time zone.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably out there doing it. But I know that that means that the hive is healthy. I know that that means probably queen is still alive inside of there. And that once they get stronger, they will send her out on a mating flight in April, May here. And
Oh, I didn't know about that
yes,
one. Hmm.
yeah. So there's a queen that's in there. She's the one that laid the bees that are reiki that woke up in the fall that made
Yeah.
it through the winter. So unless something happened to her during like these winter months, right? Um, then they'll have to make a new queen. So say this queen is fine inside. Then they have to get her ready to go hit the road and go out and mate with the drones inside the hive. So in the fall batch of making babies, they made obviously more worker bees and they made a very, very small percentage of drones, which are the male bees.
Yes.
So getting them ready for the spring birds and the bee season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the queen will only leaves the hive for one reason, to go mate. She lives her
Okay.
life in darkness inside the hive. And then she will fly out and she'll fly. They don't actually know, if you could believe this, that there's not a ton of clarity around how it works, but she flies up, the drones go
The
fly,
whole
and then some,
the whole
yeah, all
point
the
of the
drones.
birds and the bees story is to explain exactly how it works. And then the irony is that they don't actually know how it works with the bees.
Exactly. Like they don't know why she go like how high she goes in the sky, like how does
Right.
she know, like why do the male bees like go in a circle, like how does she pick, that they know she goes out to mate for sure,
Mm.
but they don't understand like how does she find those guys? Like where do they find
Right.
her, right?
In the classifieds. Is that still
Yeah,
a thing?
she's like, okay, I
Yeah.
like these guys.
Yeah.
So she goes up there and then she mates with about 18 of them or so, I guess.
Mm.
And then comes back into the hive and then hopefully begins to lay eggs. And if if there's too many drones in the hive, because drones don't do anything, they have one job. That's to go out and knock the queen up
Mm-hmm.
and then come back in, because they just cost money, because they just go sit there. They don't do anything. You have to feed them, right? So they don't
Mm.
do anything. And the rest of the hive will decide, is this enough men? Is this not enough men? And then if they
Yep.
feel like they have too many drones, they'll kill the ones that they think they have too many of
Oh my. Oh
and
my.
just keep a small, yeah, it's a really great world in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I like that truth, but uh,
You know that a long time ago, my bee mentor told me that, I guess a couple hundred years ago, maybe more, he said that they thought the thought community at the time was that bees were all males.
Oh,
They didn't know they were all females.
I
Imagine the
want to make a
shock.
remark on that. Yes, the shock
Do
would
it.
be great, but also you go like, oh, they identify differently. Did they switch their identity? Did they switch their sexuality? Is that what's going on here?
No, they just,
No.
I think that, yeah, I think it's the perfect example of, how blatantly sort of sexist and male forward the world was then and possibly still is now. Like everything, of course, all
Yes.
this is a king, not a queen. Actually, that was what he told me because they used to think it was the king bee, not the queen bee.
Mm. So that's funny because I did some research for
Hmm.
the topic today, and
Oh yeah,
I
I love this topic.
found I yeah, but that's not the bees topic. It's this the sleeping the nude topic. But I found
I think we
someone
can
in the
relate sleep to bees though.
absolutely because I wanted to make that connection with the winter sleep and
Yeah.
making a beeline for it. So basically, I'm making a beeline
Oh,
for it
but
now.
bump. Where's my drum roll?
No, do you have it?
I do.
Tick-a-doom. Okay. So, and I found Dr. Dreerup, and I saw Dr. Dreerup from the Cleveland Clinic.
Okay.
What kind of research has he done? And then I looked it up, and it's Michelle Dreerup. It's a she. I made
It's a
the classic mistake.
she.
I made the classic mistake. Yes.
You know, can we just like say one thing about that? That
Yes.
I think is how much programming we've had in our lives. We're pretty modern people, right? We weren't born in like 1902.
I
I
would pride
mean,
myself on the fact that I am very forward thinking
yes,
and
you
well, I'm not
are.
even forward thinking. Equality is part of what I live, and
Yep.
still I fall into this trap, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. I think that, well, you know what? Good for you. Good for you.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you,
Because
thank you,
I
thank you
think,
very much.
take a bow, take a bow. I think that is really a really salient point because I've noticed that sometimes I was talking to someone the other day and they said Dr. Bowers. And they said, oh, but she's a woman. You should see her credentials. They're amazing. I'm like, yeah, she's a doctor. It's already enough. Like, why does she have to be amazing? Like, it's this
Right.
idea that you have to qualify people if they're not fitting that particular norm. Like, it's a female doctor. Okay, it's still a
Yes.
doctor. It's
Hmm.
a doctor.
That's literally my thought process that I had. That I said I thought to myself, I'm just going to say Dr. Dreerup, and I'm not
Yep.
going to say Michelle, but I
Yep.
did. But then, because most of the time now, people would then say Dr. Michelle Dreerup, so everyone knows
That's
it's a
true.
female doctor. But we
That's
never
so
preface the first
true.
name for males. We just do doctor male last name.
Oh my God. Oh my
Mm.
God. I just noticed you're correct. And that, why? Why are we doing that? Because why can't everybody just be Dr. Smith? Why does it have
Exactly.
to be Dr. Michelle Smith or Dr. John Smith?
Hmm. Yeah.
I've switched doctors recently and someone said, this doctor is really great. His name, they go, it's Dr. Cherry. I go, cool. They go, but it's a guy. I'm like, I don't care. Is he really good? That's all I want is a good person. I don't care what sex they are. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
They
Although
just need to be good.
when my wife went to the clinic in Rotterdam a long time ago when we were trying to get more kids, the doctor was a Dutch name. It's Dr. Slager, and Dr. Slager means Dr. Butcher. Now, that is not necessarily a name you want. He was
No,
good, but
but he was good, right? But that's not a
it was
great name.
fine. Yeah, it's not a great
Okay,
name.
well, here's something interesting for you since we are going to be talking about sleep. And
Yes,
we have taken a very long road trip with some sandwiches and some Gatorade to get to this point. But and the topic of bees and sleep, I would just like to say that bees sleep. And they sleep. How many hours a day do you think a bee sleeps?
8 hours a day.
Yes, especially at night when they can't go out to get pollen and nectar. And at nighttime, according to the National Institute of Health, honeybees pass through a psychological state similar to mammalian sleep. Like sleep in mammals, sleep like behavior in honeybees is an active process. So,
Really? So they
yeah,
go into the REM sleep, and then they have
yeah,
the two other phases, like the light sleep
yep,
and into deep
yep,
sleep, and then they cycle through those phases
yep.
multiple times a night.
hmm And
Huh.
it says here in the study that was produced in July 2003 that there is also sleep deprivation in honeybees.
Interesting. That is very
That it could
interesting.
be because of temperature, the ambient, they have to keep a constant temperature inside the hive of 92 degrees, right? So the ambient temperature, the magnitudes of like any movements in the air, wind, any like maybe an animal knocking it could affect like the sleep patterns and the inclination of their heads when they sleep. Their ventilation, their ventilatory cycle duration could also be affected
Hmm.
by any changes in the atmosphere in the hive. Okay, just like humans. If it's too hot, I kick the covers off, I wake up. If it's too cold, I'm like, I'm fucking freezing, right?
Absolutely.
Like
So
so
the
the
humans have a
sensory
temperature.
stimulus, yeah, so do
Yes.
bees.
So humans have a temperature, and it needs to be between 60 and 67, which is 15 degrees
Okay.
Celsius and 19 degrees
Yep.
Celsius for the
Mhm. Mhm.
Dutchies.
For the
But
touchies
it's
out there.
interesting. Yes. So, but it's interesting that we also have a range of optimal temperature
Yes.
to sleep in, just as bees.
Yep.
Then, yeah.
Yeah. And so it says here that the honeybee's deepest sleep, like our deepest sleep, and it says, and least ventilatory activity occur at the same time in the seventh hour of the sleep phase.
And what is the ventilor?
The deepest sleep. Oh,
Okay,
ventilatory activity. So I guess
ventilatory.
the
Okay,
way
yes.
that the antennas will still move,
Hmm.
because we turn over, right?
Yes.
So today when I opened the hive, it was very quiet in there, and I was like, these girls are really quiet today. And then I took there's another video I put up. I took it out, and they are when you smoke a hive, it's it's that they think the forest is on fire. So then they go to eat the honey to load up on carbs. If we have to move somewhere, we need to get all this honey off, right? It's
Yeah.
more so they're too busy to fight you if they're like eating all these carbs and
Eaten.
trying to protect the hive. If they were on the comb inside the hive, they were really quiet. They weren't moving around a lot. I barely had to smoke them. And I feel like they're in like a sugar coma today because I pulled out two frames and I was like, boy, there is so much honey on these frames. And I pulled out one and it broke in half. And the bees just were like, oh, we're going to go
Yeah,
drink all this
whatever.
because you made a mess. You made a mess in my house, lady.
They have to clean it up.
Well,
Yes.
they do. They clean everything up. They have mortuary bees that take out dead bees. They have nurse bees. They have forager bees. They have guard bees. Everyone moves through the same job at some point. So, except
Yeah.
for the queen, she has the same job. But anyway, that's our topic today is sleep. And so now we know that bees sleep like we do. And
Hmm.
one of the things that you found that I think prompted this discussion on sleep is a study from the University of Amsterdam, which said sleeping naked is good for your
Yes.
health. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
It is.
baby. So,
It is.
can we get in trouble if you tell us because your wife, we should listen, should be like, I don't want him talking about us sleeping naked. So, do you guys sleep
No,
naked?
I sleep naked, but she doesn't sleep
Okay.
naked.
She sleeps
But
clothed. Okay.
clothes, and that's very common. A lot of females actually wear pajamas or wear underwear to
Hmm.
bed. More men sleep naked than females do. I don't know why that is.
What? That's
Yes.
fascinating.
Yes.
I don't know why that is. You would think that men would sleep with something because you've got that like that whole package.
No, that's fine. That's neat air, and it's actually good. So part of it, why it's
Yeah.
healthy, is that because you are
It
able
lets
to
you air
cool
out.
down more. Yeah,
Yeah.
you air out. You have less obstruction of blood flow, so it's better for your
Oh
skin.
yeah.
And it's also it decreases the body temperature, which is good for your fertility for men. And
Yes.
so there are a lot of elements that they
Health reasons.
researched.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I before we get into the data of this study, there are 6 benefits of sleeping naked, and we talks about it in the study. One of them is it builds confidence,
Hmm.
helps you
Yep.
sleep better, reduces stress, improves your relationships. I don't have a sound effect for that. It
Hmm.
actually prevents fungal infections.
It does for females mostly.
Interesting. And it says that it also makes your life easier.
Yeah, the last part
I
I
don't
didn't
really understand that
understand.
one.
No, but the part where you have a deeper connection is if you have a skin on skin connection with your
Mm.
partner. It releases oxytocins. Is that the right
Oh,
one?
yes. Okay. This makes sense,
Yes.
I guess. Research by the Cotton trademark of Cotton USA found that if you sleep naked with your partner, you're more likely to have a happy relationship. Huh. In the survey of more than 1,000 Brits, 57% of those who slept in the nude said they had happy relationships than 47% of those who wear pajamas. I don't know. The Brits seem colossally unhappy to me a lot. Anyway, so I can't imagine them not wearing pajamas. I think they're all pajama wearers. Like they're in their
I think,
flannel, they got like a little hook across the top. Sorry, Brits.
and they're wearing a hat. They must have wearing.
And they
They
have
must
on
be
a
wearing
hat.
some sort
Like,
of nightcap.
yeah,
Yes, like a hat,
yeah, yeah.
with a
Everybody
lantern,
I've ever,
walking around with a
yeah, they're
lantern.
like,
Yes.
where's my
Yeah.
tea, please? I need some tea and toast. Um, but it also says that skin on skin contact, which we all love, encourages couples to engage in intimacy to the chemical oxytocin
That's
that
yes,
you mentioned earlier, that it
mm,
releases the oxytocin, which is actually a component of what we describe as love.
yes. So being naked will
Basically,
give
love
you
makes
more
you
love.
crazy. Yeah, you're getting more
So
love
you,
and be open with each other.
yeah,
Well, what
and
about this
and
study?
and the self image. I think it's quite underestimated because
Oh, I
people
agree.
that are comfortable in their own body, as more
Mm-hmm.
you see. So I have a theory, and this is just me talking. That
Okay.
is,
The world
uh,
according to Naos.
yes, is the more you look at something, the more you get familiar with something, the more you accept it. So if you, that's why we have like soap operas. You're so invested in these
Hmm.
people because you'll see them every day and go, oh, they become your friends because they're so close, they're familiar. You see them often, and I think the same goes for the same goes actually for music. There was an interesting study on the first um, piece of music that Stravinsky did. The it invoked anger in people the
Very
first time they
nice.
heard it, and
Really?
yes, anger. It was in the newspapers that people attacked each other halfway that the first time that orchestra piece was played, symphony, and a year later he replayed it, and it was caught as a huge success. And they did research on it, and I heard it on a different podcast, but they did research on it, and it was the familiarity of sound. And if we don't have a framework for it,
Mm.
we don't accept it, and therefore we reject it, and we can even get very angry. Now, that's a very long story to say. If we look at ourselves all the time and we don't have to judge it, we can take it in, then we are more happy with us. So,
Yeah, I believe
yeah.
that. I think that's
Mm.
really, really true. And I think we could take another detour to say that all those other studies out there have shown that we are less happy with ourselves since the internet, with like all the social media has come around because of the fact that we are so self-obsessed with ourselves and that
Mm.
we have lost this idea of who we are based on seeing other people's ideas of who they think they are.
Yes. And it's all fake.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
I mean, no one is posting terrible pictures of themselves.
No, I mean, someone should just start a ghost account where they're like, "This is my day to day," and it's like a big whole carton of eggs that crashed on the floor, like,
Just
or,
behind the scenes.
some, yeah,
Yeah.
behind the scenes of real life. That's what it should be. Well,
Yeah.
in this subject of sleep and this great survey that you found, I also know that this sleep world, this a sleep market. As you know, everything gets commercialized today because we're in the land of the world of technology. The sleep tech market was valued at 16.8 billion in 2022 and
16.8 billion.
billion. And they said that the sleep tech market is increasingly expected to grow by 22% from last year, 2023, to 2033 by 22.6% because of increasing prevalence of sleep disorders and the
Hmm.
growing awareness of sleep disorders and how to solve them. Now, that is a lot. That's a big effing market, right? And you and I both know that there is a science behind sleep that's been commercialized. So your sleep
Hmm.
patterns are being commoditized, like how you sleep with all this technologies. Here's your put this phone under your mattress while you sleep, and it'll tell you how many times you woke up or where your REM sleep was. Like, what the hell are you going to do with that data? It's just, to me, another way to capture and mark and track everything that you do. But that being
Yes.
said, there are 10, the same study also said there are 10 primary drivers devices of the sleep tech market. One is a wearable ring, that Aura ring. It tracks your
Hmm.
sleep duration, your time in bed, your resting heart rate. Now, what are you going to do with that information? I bet
I
you do
don't
less with that
know.
information than the people that make the Aura Ring.
I think they can, yes. But what can they do with it? Like find out how often you have sex?
Well, they'll do something with it. They're collecting data to sell, maybe to sell. Like, what are you literally, if you had an Aura Ring and you found what your resting heart rate was, what your sleep stage, it's more like, oh, that's good to know. Like, I need to sleep more, right? But
Well, actually,
I think it,
to be honest, there is
yeah,
a application for this that is used for pilots. And since I am entering that world as a jet pilot in the charter companies,
since you are a
they
pilot.
uh, well, yes, but now I'm also like flying jets, so this is more real than the other airplanes. So when we do that, the sleep deprivation is a real issue for a lot of pilots because they cross so many time zones. So to follow
Of
the circadian
course.
rhythm, they follow the sleep cycles of pilots to see if they're fit enough to fly, and because everything in aviation is about safety. So
Mm-hmm.
in that element, I
Well,
see a value for sleep tech for pilots or safety
yeah.
related functions.
How are they tracking that? Uh, like, how are they tracking the pilots? Like, is that by airline, and they go in and do they make them keep these devices under their bed, or like
No,
how's that
they don't
working?
actually track it. They assign rest time, and in that rest time, you should be resting, and then they know the offset of your circadian rhythm. So they also know, based on your duty day and your rest times, how if you are building up a lack of sleep. And there's so many regulations on sleep and rest in aviation that it's
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that because I'm sure there are, but like, what are they doing about it?
they
Because you
just
can't
say
mandate that every pilot wears an Aura Ring and then turns their data into the company.
no, no. So they
I
don't.
mean, technically they
It,
could, but I mean, no one would see. Someone would see that as a violation of privacy.
I would say that's a violation of privacy for sure. But
Yeah,
so
you look at the science fiction though, dystopian things, and it's like, how did we get to this point? I think my point is we have all these gadgets, companies are collecting this data, and you're not going to arbitrarily say, yes, I agree to wear an Aura Ring as a pilot so you can track my data and you can make a decision if I haven't had enough sleep, right? Which would be
mhm,
great though, in a way, because then it's important that pilots get sleep, and like someone could be like, hey, these guys haven't had any sleep, even though they said they feel rested, they're not, so you're grounded, right? Like, is that ever
exactly.
going to be a point where that happens?
I'm not saying no, but I think we'll have more automatic flying happening before we fit. I think it's faster
Really?
that planes get. They're doing research now, not research. They are doing single pilot operations for cargo airplanes, which
Oh
makes
yeah, I read
sense.
that. I read that. Yeah.
Yes. So you will rely on lots of automation. So to
I
that
think
end,
that also that's scary to me. Okay. Well, okay, there's the Oura Ring. There's also
yeah.
smart mattresses.
You had a robot you talked about. What was the
Yeah, I do
thing of
want to
the
talk about the
robot?
robot. Yeah, so there is a robot. It's actually there's two sleep robots. One is by Alexander Cole. As you know, he was one of the top 10 podcasts on the show. He
Hmm.
has a sleep robot that actually it looks like a little pillow in a way, and you hold it and
Oh
it
yeah, yeah,
sort of
yeah.
it simulates like restful breathing. And there was
Mm-hmm.
another one in the Netherlands by a young guy, and it was called the Somnox sleep robot. And yeah, I'm a little annoyed by that one because I think it's really cool. I've actually held the Somnox robot. He was at the Treefort Film Festival a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago in Boise, Idaho. I interviewed it on stage. He brought the robot with him, and basically, it breathes to get you to get into a very relaxed breathing pattern, right? Which obviously
Mm-hmm.
breathing and air and oxygen encourage a good night's sleep, right? Help you go to
Yes.
sleep. And it's really a brilliant idea. I don't know why, like, he's very hyper focused on just the Amsterdam market. I'm like, dude, that's such a tiny market. Like, the world is
The world is your
the
oyster.
US is
Yes.
yeah, the world is your oyster. Also, Americans will buy anything. We will buy a barking dog. We'll buy anything. I feel like the Dutch are a little more like reserved. I feel like if
Reserved.
you're gonna bring
Yes.
yeah, right?
Hmm. I
I
was
think he's
shopping
missing an
with my wife
opportunity.
last weekend, and I fell so hard for all the marketing tricks that they had in this shopping mall. I wasn't even buying things, and I bought my wife all
Like
these
what?
things, and
Like what?
shoes and a dress and a
A
bra, and I'm like,
shoe and
what?
a dress. Okay. Buying your wife stuff is a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So that there's a smart mattress. I don't know if I'd want a smart mattress. It's supposed to regulate temperature, tracks your sleep through sensors. It can adjust the bed's firmness and position. I mean, do you remember about 10 years ago, everything was like, quantify your life, hack your life? I'm like, I sometimes
Mm,
can't even get my phone to sync with Alexa, let alone like, can you imagine if the temperature on that thing just got stuck or the internet went down?
yeah. No, that's the
I don't like
biggest
it.
threat. Speaking of threats, I have one segue I wanted
Okay.
to go into because
Okay.
the threats and sleeping, it also made me think of loneliness, and that's probably because I
Hmm.
spend a lot of time in hotel rooms when I'm out.
Yes.
Um, but how
Because you're flying.
because yes, and what am I trying to say? It's a weird segue, so maybe you can cut this out.
Oh,
Never
well,
mind.
just talk. If we
Yeah.
don't like it, we'll cut it out.
Okay. Well, the Center for Humane Technology, they have a podcast called Your Undivided Attention, and it's with Tristan Harris and Ozza Raskin. And they talked about um, loneliness being used by AI and chatbots. And this is what you said, hack my life
What
and
do you
everything
mean
quantifiable.
loneliness? Yeah.
Since people are inherently looking for a connection, but their friends or who should be their friends or are their friends don't respond, or they don't have time, or they didn't make time for them, people go and spend more time online. And they don't know, but they've seen a massive uptake in private messaging on the social channels, so Facebooks and Instagrams, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't know who is sending these messages, but they're thinking these are adversaries making relationships through chatbots, but they are posing like real people.
Oh,
And as
what?
they form a relationship, they slowly interject different ways of thinking, or radicalizing people, or maybe having influence on how they vote. And since
Mhm.
2024, around the world is actually a huge year for voting, not only in the
Yeah.
States, but also in Europe, England, and there's a couple other countries that have huge elections coming up. Uh, if you control that whole narrative and you're able to have a
Yeah.
one-on-one relationship, having quantified everything. So, for instance, if you have all this data and that is available, it can all be used in that personal relationship, or that you see as a personal relationship. I got shocked by that for a moment. Mm.
Why? I mean, that does not. Okay, first of all, why? Why were you shocked? Because that does not surprise me at all. Because I think people are want to connect to people, and the manipulation. I think the manipulation of people's emotions or thought patterns or how you think are something that I think's been going on for a long time, even before the internet. But I think it's even scarier now with the bots and the chat bots that you don't know if it's a person or not. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
they've been worried about this for a while, right? My mother, by example, she answers every phone or clicks a link. Hey, they said my bank account was spammed. Like, your bank account is not spam, mom. Don't answer that link. Like, don't, it looked like the logo. It's not the logo, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think that the criminals today are preying on loneliness, on elderly people, on people that feel disconnected, and it's very easy to do. I think I
Very
told you
easy.
this once, but I was on a dating app once, and it was a very nice guy, age appropriate guy, as people would say. And I just knew something was not quite right off. And then finally says, "I have something to tell you." I'm like, "Okay, here we go. Married or like something." And he goes,
Hmm.
"Well, I'm actually under house arrest, or like
Oh my
I
God.
have a, what do you call it? Like
Ankle
an
bracelet.
ankle." Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay,
One of
no
those.
wonder why you never wanted to meet out anywhere." It was like maybe 2 weeks of talking, so it
Mm.
wasn't that long. And he says, "Yes, but it was only white collar crime."
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. You're the morale
I need a
police as
bump it up
well.
bump for that, right? I
I
was like,
know.
"Okay, white collar crime is still a
It's still a
crime."
crime.
And I
Yes.
think it was only a second degree felony. I'm like, what did
I
you
don't care
do?
what you
Like
call
steal
it.
people's insurance money? And he goes, well, kind of something like that. And I'm like, what the fuck? So
And
yeah, something,
and
still a crime.
they
It's
make it
still a
seem like
crime.
white collar crime is
Ah,
innocent,
no big
but
deal.
it's
Yeah.
taking away people's like uh,
Savings, like
pensions.
futures, insurance
Yeah,
policies, choices. Like, I'm just,
their
yeah.
nest egg, everything. It's
Yeah, they're
terrible.
nest egg. And if that
Yeah.
is like a repeat, like, but even before the internet's those scam artists, those people that would be like, oh, it sounds like a legitimate company. My cousin Bob did it. And then you go into the office and it's like pieces of paper floating in the air, like down to the table. Like,
Hmm.
they vacated, but you're taking this back to sleep data. If you want to connect it to what you're saying, I
Yes.
think to me, the tie is the, um, territoriality of using data to criminalize data, right? To use it to get, like you said, people to vote differently or people to think differently, people
Yes.
to be open to things they would never be open to. And I think when you're lonely or you don't feel connected, you may tend to believe that. And
Yeah.
because I see so many logical people like, oh, I read that on Facebook. I'm like, well, that's not a news channel, dummy.
And no,
Like,
no.
that's not real.
The other element that comes in play is that if you are registering that kind of data, you said about criminalizing it, you could be driving and being in an accident. They might pull that record and say, "Hey, you only slept for 4 hours, so
Exactly,
you
exactly. It was a very
were."
minority report, like
Hmm.
pre-crime, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
think that
So
if you
what are we
think about
saying?
what are we saying that we are saying that just take a melatonin and go to sleep.
All right. I think you should just
Actually,
listen to a storybook or something.
I personally think if I get down to the bottom of this short list, once we get past these crazy smart mattresses and this Aura ring at a sleep tracker, how long you're sleeping, I still fundamentally believe that you're not going to do anything with that data except bitch about it. I'm not sleeping enough. I need to sleep some more. This my tracker says so. Okay, well, stop turning your laptop on in bed till midnight with those blue lights sucking the life out of you. Like, so sorry, that is my rant because it makes me crazy. But okay, the other things that kind of make sense is help this. Look at this. Alarm clocks
Alarm clocks.
helps you stick to a regular sleep routine. Weighted blankets that could
Yes.
help apply gentle pressure to the body and could induce a calming effect. I like this.
Hmm.
A dodow, which I had to look that up. It's a light therapy device that uses light and breathing exercises to help you fall asleep faster. Do you know what I can't sleep?
Hmm.
I put on this thing called Sonic Yogi, and he plays all the chakras tones like Tibetan bowls in each chakra tone. I am like out in 10 minutes, like less than 10 minutes. I do
Oh,
C
so
sharp and I'm like, wake up and it's morning.
that is awesome. Like
Yeah, it's
I do
and brown
studies
noise.
on brown noise. Yeah, so I do the studies on physics and particle physics, and that
Oh,
puts me out in 5 minutes.
yeah.
So that's
So
quick.
again, you're reading, you're relaxing, you're disconnecting your
Huh.
your brain stem from the internet. And I turn my Wi-Fi off at night. I used to not to. Now I turn it off. I sleep great. If I accidentally leave my phone on during the night, I'm fitful sleeping. Fitful sleeping. And there are
Huh.
studies that show that if you turn the Wi-Fi off, you have a better night's sleep. You feel rested. The big difference is the whatever's happening now. I know I sound what I sound like, but there's some
Do you
studies.
shut off the entire phone like
Yep.
completely?
Turn off. I
The
shut
whole
off
thing.
the entire phone. Yep. Off. Boop.
What about all the other electricity in your house?
Electricity, obviously, I guess I could go out and flip the switch every night, but I don't. I would like to
Hmm.
because I don't think we know the long-term effects on electric electrical currents. I turn off the internet, and that's it. I just in the morning I flip a switch and all goes back on.
Okay,
But my
I'll
phone
give it a
definitely
try.
goes off. Yeah, try. Oh, you
Hmm.
know what? Just turn your phone off.
Yeah, and get an alarm clock,
Oh,
a
apparently, and a
proper.
sleep mask. Okay, this is the last thing on the list. A sleep mask blocks artificial light, helps your brain more quickly transition from daytime to nighttime. I think that's interesting because I do have a sleep mask. I also enjoy being woken up. I don't have blackout curtains, and it's pretty pretty not, there's no light pollution kind of where I am, even though I'm in the city of Dallas. But I have, my room has 7 windows in it into the backyard, into the garden where the bees are.
Hmm.
And I love the natural light to wake up and to go to sleep
Yes.
in. So I learned that when I lived in France. I just sort of allowed myself to sort of let go. Turning off the internet helps. If I wake up in the night at like 3 a.m. and I can't sleep, I do not reach for the device and I do not pick up my laptop to watch a movie. I literally
Good.
just lay there.
Yeah. That was another thing.
Um,
People aren't bored anymore, right? So they always have something to
yes.
do. Yes.
Yes, and we
Uh,
don't. You need to be doing. You need to be doing nothing. Doing nothing is something. It's allowing your brain to just separate for a bit, to relax. I I have
I'm,
this rule now where I only spend 2 hours. I allow myself 2 hours a day on my phone. That's it,
mhm.
and then I
I
shut it off.
I want to say I do the same, but it's
Mhm.
only a wish at this moment.
Well, I think you could just do bits and pieces. Like you, okay, I'm just going down to 5 hours a day, or you can say I'm not going to look at it past 7 p.m. or whatever
Mhm.
whatever fits into your lifestyle. But I will tell you that in my own personal science project, that is not qualified by anybody but myself, is that I feel 100% better. And I know that it makes a difference. And I try to tell people, they're like, I took your advice. I turned off my phone and wow, I really did sleep good. I'm like, how can you go to sleep when your phone is constantly pugging and pinging and zinging and zapping and zooping? Like, you can't.
No.
So, one last thing I wanted to say, since you're married and I'm not, was that there was an article that came out by LifeBridge Health in February 5th recently that
Hmm.
said that studies show that even though you may love your boo, sometimes it's not great to sleep with them because the other person can't sleep. They're flipping, they're flopping, they're turning, and then you can't sleep. And they
It's
suggested
true.
teeny tiny sleep divorces.
No. 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 I I don't know. Maybe we're weird because we sleep
Or unique and
entangled.
special. Oh, you
Yeah.
sleep
We,
entangled. Aw.
yes.
Where's my
Most of
heart
the
music?
nights we just. I don't know. Let's play it. Play the
I
violin.
I don't have any. I have laughing music. I don't feel like that's right.
No, we sleep entangled, and it's really calming. And
How?
if
How? How? How?
she sleeps on my chest, and my arm is around her, and
So
then
she
I
sleeps
sleep
on
on
her
my back,
tummy. She sleeps on her tummy on you, and
on
you
her
sleep on your
side.
back and your arms, and you literally go to sleep like that.
Yeah, and I don't move. I hardly move.
Well, okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I mean,
Yeah,
congratulations, because
yes, and it's one
I
of the
could
best
never do
sleeps. It's one of the best
of your
sleeps I
life.
can have. No,
I
no, it's just
love that.
really nice to snuggle and to sleep.
I love
It's just,
snuggling. I just
yeah,
have
it's one of
to.
my
I think
favorite
that's
things.
actually. Aw, you guys are all though quite special in that way. I mean, I think you're authentically with each other in a very real way. So I
Mhm.
think the fact that you can sleep like that, you guys are like two little monkeys in the forest, like cuddling
Exa-
up next to each other, like sleeping. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
It makes me happy
yeah.
to know
Thank
that
you.
you're sleeping that way. I
Yeah.
sleep really well. I sleep really well. I also have 2 small dogs, and they are awesome. They're like little heaters. But when I go, I go. I'm like, I'm out. Boop boop. Like, bye bye.
Yes.
Internet off. Face mask on. Brown noise or
Dog.
Sonic Yogi. Sonic Yogi. It's the best.
And then the dogs are in the room or out the room?
No, they're totally in the room on the bed. They're like
Yes. Oh,
little.
see?
One likes to go under the covers, and they get all. Sometimes I get so hot. I'm like, you got to get out from under there. It's too hot. They go down by
Yes.
my feet.
Yeah. That's nice. I think it's nice.
Yeah,
At least
it is
you
nice.
have there's company. Yes.
Well, yeah, yes, exactly, because I don't have any company right now. But
Yeah.
I when I did have company though, I often would not allow him to stay the night because I wanted to sleep. I wanted my sleep. So even though I love cuddling like a little monkey,
Uh-huh.
I would at some point want to like go to my own side. So I think you guys are very special.
Yeah, that's what I said. But I don't have special is
Yeah.
good.
I think special is good. If you're sleeping, you get a good night's
Good.
sleep. I think it's good. If you sleep all night, I think it's great. And there's
Yeah.
one last thing I want to talk about sleep. And this is not so great. Maybe, yeah, okay, we maybe could cut this out. But a study from Penn Medicine, also on February 5th, so there's a lot of sleep news in the past
Mm-hmm.
7 days, is that this is Penn Medicine research found that Black adults across the US suffer from sleep problems following exposure to news about unarmed Black individuals being killed by police during the police encounter.
Oh,
And
wow.
that, yeah, really, the study's very, very interesting. I'll put it in the link if people want to read it. But it was pretty upsetting. Like, I don't know if I'm going to sleep tonight after reading it. And I thought, can we stop and think for a minute about how important sleep is and how many things that are happening in the world around us affect like different people, different cultures, different races, and we don't think about that. And I thought this is a very shocking study, and it really made me feel terrible for, um,
Hmm.
what's happening in the world today when people are unarmed, killed by police, and how that affects people's sleep for a period of time. Do you remember? I mean, I'm going to talk about her, but she's a Dutch girl named Marloes. Do you remember Marloes?
Maybe.
Yeah, she has really beautiful, brown hair, almond eyes. Anyway, she could not sleep after 9/11. I guess I
Oh, yes.
didn't meet her.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't meet her for quite some time, and she told me that she couldn't sleep. Like she was just every night since 9/11 had been like 2 hours of sleep. She just these horrible, like watching it over and
Visions.
over again. Yeah, visions,
Yes.
and she struggled for years to find a way to fix that. And I know that she has, but it was a good 20 years before she could move past that.
Wow. Well,
I
that
know.
I
And so
suppose that's trauma, right? That we're talking.
trauma,
We're not
exactly.
talking
Trauma.
about something that is most. If people experience trauma, and that sounds like all the examples you just gave are definitely
Yeah.
examples of that trauma.
Yeah.
So they should be they should be able to find treatment for trauma,
Yeah. Yeah. And I
to bring
think
that back. It
um
should be recognized as such, is what I'm trying to say. Like it's not a callous thing to just step over and say, "Hey, get over it, go to sleep," but
yeah. Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is an actual thing, and we recognize it, and we need to do something about it." Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to put the Penn Medicine News into the notes for everybody because it's a really interesting article that looks at the impact of this type of thing on structural racism and exposure to like neighborhood violence, occupational stratification, or shift work. There's also, the effect of discrimination on sleep health. And I think this also ties back to what we said earlier, where the sleep tech market is booming at what 16 billion because of all of the increase in these
Hmm.
types of human cultural violence that we're beginning to see in the world, just sort of not getting any better. And I think that idea of um, you know poor sleep can be linked to poor health outcomes also affects everything. I mean,
Oh yes.
you
If you don't meet your deep sleep requirements, you never
mhm,
make it to deep sleep. That's when your
mhm.
body repairs itself,
Yeah,
right?
you
So
never make it
that's
to deep sleep. Exactly.
yeah. And if you don't make it to deep sleep, it affects your white blood cells, your whole immune
Everything.
system is
Yeah,
compromised,
immune
and
system.
from there on, it just spirals out of control. So sleep is
Yeah.
elementary.
So
Yes.
sleep naked. Sleep is important. And
Hmm.
if you can, sleep like a little monkey with your
Sleep like a
partner.
monkey, and don't watch the news. Just stop.
Don't watch the news. Don't turn your computer on at night when you can't sleep, and don't pick up your phone. That
No.
Jack Kerouac wrote about that in the Dharma Bum when the character, and he was saying as he was walking down the street, he was walking down all these houses, and all he could see was these blue lights emanating from each house. Well, that was the advent of television,
Oh,
right? And
yes.
I think if you actually don't see that so much anymore because everybody's on their stupid devices, and if you look down, the blue light is coming from these tiny little devices in our hands. So he wrote
Yes.
that book in the 40s or the late 40s, early 50s. And I always think it's like, wow, Jack, you were so correct. It wasn't just the TV box now. It's like
Mm-mm.
a 6x6, 4x6. I don't even know how big the phones are. What is that? 3x8 maybe device with the blue light? Can't be good for you.
Uh,
You know it's not.
no, and then you have now the Apple.
Oh, by the way, oh, but I don't have my phone. I have on my Apple Watch. But yeah, but you're fucking hitting it all the time. Like that's
Yes.
still an interruption.
No, and the what's the thing that got released? I can't think of the name. The Apple device you put in your head. The IC? No, the
Oh, no, I don't know the name of that. What? Yeah, that head thing. I don't know.
it
That's
just came
scaring
out,
me a little.
and everyone is like falling in love with it over it because
Oh,
you can
because
watch
Apple people,
movies.
I'm sorry, I've been very, very, very clear about this on this podcast. Apple Vision Pro, I think. Was that it?
Apple Vision Pro, that's it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's an article how Apple's putting voices in users' heads, literally. Is that I've said this all along? Like Apple people are the people that are going to get us to that dystopian future for sure, because they are so willing to do anything. I mean, if you walk, I could listen. The love of my life could pass me on the street 90 times in one day, but he would never know because his little head has got little white little
Mm-hmm.
cochlear implants in it, and he's looking
Yep.
at his phone. Like I would pass him a million times and he wouldn't know it. This is where you see these, to me, you see these sci-fi dystopian films where people are just marching into work and they step on the one flower, the daisy that's, coming up to the sidewalk, and you wonder, it's like, why are we all wearing the same color? Why are we all
It's
doing this? Why are we taking these
it's
implants every day?
it's
You can see why.
definitely a technical cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an Apple person. I'm an Android person. So I feel like I'm vastly superior to Apple people. But other than that,
I have everything Apple, but I still don't.
what?
On
I
my
would have
work
thought you
phone,
would have been not an Apple person. You're such a
no, no,
technical, behind the scenes
yeah,
person.
but it all works so easily. But now
Yeah, that's
my
it.
work gave me a
Dumbs you
Android.
down.
It does
Good
dumb
for
me
them.
down.
Good for your work.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
keeping me on my
because
toes.
people you want to live easy, and the Apple world makes it easy. It's its own little walled garden of like little bubbles, and like it just makes
Let's
it
say
easy. And easy, is that the way
we say we
forward?
want to live easy. We don't want to live easy. We want to
We
deserve what we
do.
get. We want to work for things and feel
No,
accomplished.
we
And
don't. I
we
agree. I
don't.
disagree. If we no, if we did, we wouldn't be so quick to dump
No, we're
ourselves into an immersive environment like an Apple that like keeps you imprisoned with like Apple Vision Pro and Apple Tunes and Apple TV. And then like you Apple people, if I type something, I know everybody that's listening are probably rolling their eyes at this, but if I text you on my Android and you're like, "Oh, I like this. This is really funny." And so you would probably just reply, "Well,
thumbs up.
you might use words, but you would do
No,
thumbs up." The way it
bling.
comes back to
Yes,
me is Naos says thumbs up, and then it repeats what I just said.
yes.
So when I text people and then they'll be like heart emoji or like concerned emoji, but it doesn't have the emoji. It actually has the words concerned emoji and then quotes what I just said. So my entire chain is like echoes of myself repeatedly over and over and over again. Like,
However, if you send it to an Apple device, then the Apple device
Mhm.
just portrays that emoji that you sent.
Right, because
It's
that's the
very
closed
smart.
walled garden. That's the racist garden of Apple.
Okay, we'll have this battle.
On that
We'll
note,
have to battle this out. Yes.
okay, and Apple Vision Pro looks scary to me. So yeah, we'll battle this out on the next episode of Massive Talk. Thank you all for coming and listening to Naos and I rant about sleep, sleeping naked. My God, I've forgotten what we've all talked about.
We
Bees.
did a lot. Bees and Center for Human Technology,
Yeah,
loneliness.
it's great.
Wow, I covered it all.
Loneliness. Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. So listen,
And
yeah, thanks for listening. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks. And again, like, rate, share this episode, please. We love it. You guys are sharing. I can see that you're sharing. Hurrah. And the top 3 countries that listen are the United States, the Netherlands, whoop, 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 in the house, NL,
yeah, there
and
we
the
go.
United Kingdom.
A cup of tea.
Cup of tea, please.
Cup of tea,
All
please.
right. Have fun in the friendly skies.
Thank you. And you on the ground.